Good. All right, thanks everyone. We'll get started now. Welcome to the post-landing news conference for Space Shuttle Discovery's STS-124 mission to the International Space Station here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. We will open this up with comments from the crew and then open it up to your questions. We'll start with the STS-124 commander, Mark Kelly. Sir?
Good afternoon. Wow, it's been a long day for us, a great day. We woke up about 2:30 this morning on orbit, and about 14 hours later, we're sitting here back on Earth in 1G, trying to get all readjusted to that. That's always a fun thing to do. Similar to going up into space, takes a little time to get back into it. It was a great privilege for me to be part of this crew and this team. I think I have the best space shuttle crew of all time. I mean, I have a crew of, 6, and if you count, there's 7 of us here, and Greg Chamitoff and our 2 cosmonauts on orbit, just incredibly talented and hardworking people. And, that's largely or mostly responsible or completely responsible for the success of this flight. This flight was about installing a laboratory, but I think it's a little bit more than just that. It's about international cooperation between us and the Russians and our European partners, but mostly this mission was about cooperation with our Japanese partner and the Japanese Space Agency called JAXA. It was a privilege for all of us to be able to deliver the Japanese laboratory on orbit. We have a Japanese astronaut as part of our crew, Aki, who just did an incredible job with the laboratory. He essentially was our payload commander, took care of the lab when it was on the ground, making sure everything was basically built the way certain things were the way that we wanted them to be and the way he wanted them to be, and then took care of that on orbit. So it was really a privilege to have Aki as part of the crew. Working with JAXA was a great experience for all of us, I think. I mean, we really enjoyed the international aspect of this flight and the partnership that we were able to forge between us and our Japanese partners. This is hard work. Going to space is not easy. It's a lot of a long period of time training. For the shuttle crew here, it was, I think, over a year. For Garrett, who spent 4 months on orbit, it was a lot longer than that. He's probably been training for that flight for, 3 or 4 years, I would expect. So this is hard work, but what we're doing here is not only about the space station. I mean, we're going to have an incredible space station on orbit. We do now, an incredible new laboratory that's going to very likely result in new discoveries, new science, new engineering, new materials, medicines, and those type of things. But it's also about figuring out how do you live in space for a long period of time. It's not easy, and Garrett can tell you that. It's not easy to live in space for a long period of time. It's a tough thing to do for a person. It's tough on the equipment. And for us to one day go back to the moon for a long period of time and go on to Mars, we're going to have to learn. We still have a lot to learn, and that's what the space station is about. I think at this point I'd like to open it up to questions, and I'm not sure how many we can take, but we'll be here for a while. Hopefully we'll get to all of them.
Try to get you back actually to crew quarters as quickly as we can. We'll start in the corner over there with Peter King.
Hi, welcome back. Peter King with CBS News Radio, and I think I got to speak for almost everyone in the room when we say that we're stunned here, because I can't remember the last time, if any, we ever had a returning station astronaut in one of these post-landing briefings. So, Garrett, first of all, you said the other day that your adaptation to gravity would probably be a lot easier because you're vertically challenged. How's apparently it must be going pretty well so far because you're here. But tell us how you feel.
I think maybe we're onto something here. We need to get more short people in the astronaut office. But there's probably a variety of reasons that I'm feeling a little better than I expected, and I'm very happy about that. We have a very good countermeasure program now, and I kept up with that rigorously when I was on orbit. And there's a lot of variation from person to person too, and we don't know the science yet because we don't have enough data points, but we're working on that. And but I think you're right. I think it's mostly that because I'm short. I'm happy that that's finally come in handy for something other than limbo contests. So it's great to be here. Thanks.
Okay. Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for Garrett. How was the reunion with Simone? We've all been hearing about her for the last week. And how else have you enjoyed being back on Earth so far?
I tried to get her to come along to the press conference, but she's a little shy. But the reunion was fantastic. It was everything I was hoping for. As soon as she got a haircut, actually, while I was gone, and so I hesitated for a moment as soon as the doors of the elevator opened up and I saw her. But it was fantastic, and it was a very tender moment when I got a chance to go over and hold her again. It was really nice.
Holly.
Hi, Holly Hickman, Fox News Radio for Karen. I know you supported Sunita Williams when she was doing the marathon, and you actually did it in Boston on the ground. Did you pretend? Did you go up to the treadmill and play around while you weren't operating 3 robotic arms?
I never did make it over to the treadmill. I rode the bicycle on station and on the space shuttle, but I never made it to the treadmill. There's a little more overhead for using that equipment than the others, so I never did that.
Okay. Patrick.
Patrick Peterson with Florida Today for Commander Kelly. Did you have any surprises when you inspected the condition of the shuttle on the launch pad? Was there any damage that you were not aware of after the robotic examination?
My crew is so talented at everything they do. They're usually better at answering these questions than I am. So I'm going to turn it over to my pilot, Ken Ham, to take that one.
No, we looked over the orbiter very well after we got out of the van there on the runway, and it looked great. It looked, to me, as good as it did when we launched. I think you guys might agree. Discovery was an absolutely perfect machine for us through the entire mission. And talking to at least one manager on the runway there, he was happy that the mission management team meetings were never longer than 10 minutes through the whole flight. And that's a sign of a good airplane or a good spaceship. So we're very fortunate for that.
HR Sami with Kyodo News. I have 2 questions to Mr. Hoshide, and please answer in Japanese as well. And what is your impression of your first flight to space? And another question is, please evaluate your own contribution to this mission as a payload commander, as Commander Kelly said.
Okay, let me take this first in English, and then I'll do it in Japanese. First of all, I loved every second of this mission. It was fun. We got to do everything completed, and we had a lot of support from the ground. But yes, I loved every second of it. When we had to close the hatch of the orbiter before undock, that was a little tender moment. It was kind of sad. So I wish to go back there, and work there. Probably a long duration flight next time. 7 days or 9 days docked. Yeah, 9 days was not enough. Secondly, for my contribution as a payload commander, I think it felt not so difficult. And I owe it to these crew here, because they, whenever they had time, they pitched in. They came into Kibo. they asked me, hey, is there anything I can do? And they did everything that they can do. And also, we owe it to the flight controllers in Houston and in Tsukuba. So that made everything go so smoothly. And so it's not my contribution, I don't think. It's more as a team. じゃあ日本語で、そうですね、最初のご質問ですけども、本当にすべてミッションの期間すべてですね、非常に楽しく過ごせました。で、特に宇宙ステーションとの間のハッチを閉めるときですね、ちょっとこう寂しい思いをしましたね。もうちょっといたかったなっていうのが正直なところです。なので次、長期滞在になると思いますけども、また、宇宙ステーションそれから希望を訪れる機会を楽しみにしています。それから、ペイロードコマンダーとしての貢献の話ですけども、比較的、難しくなかったなと思いました。感じたのは、でそれは一つにはここにいるすべてのクルーがですね、時間があれば希望に来て、何か手伝えることがないかと聞いてくれて、10分でも20分でも、何かやってくれたと。でそれで非常に物事が、スムーズに運びました。あとは地上の、筑波それからヒューストンにいる、管制官ですね、彼らの力に、よるものが非常に大きいと思います。
This is Shimizu from Fuji TV. This is for Hoshide-san again. Your dream from childhood was to become an astronaut and go to space has now come true with this mission. So how do you feel about it, and what is your next dream? Thank you.
Yes, going into space has that dream came true, but I think this is an ongoing dream for me. It's not complete yet. I still want to go up, maybe long duration first, and then probably Moon, Mars, right? But yeah, so this is just a continuing dream, I think. Probably, first of all, I'd like to support the next Kibo mission from the ground, but after that, probably long duration flight.
John, New York Times.
Hi, John Schwartz, New York Times. This is for Colonel Guerin. The windshield wiper move, was it what you were hoping, and can you describe a little bit just what it was like to be out there on your own?
To answer the first question, yeah, it was more than I expected, and can I explain it? Probably not. Not at this point. I'll do the best I can. I'll try the best I can. When we started on the first swipe of the windshield wiper maneuver, it was at night, and the first thing I did once I had everything stable and I had the NTA with me and I knew it was secure, is I turned off my lights on my helmet because I wanted to see the stars. But the station is so enormous and it has all these lights on it that it basically washed out any view of the stars. But when I got to the top, again I turned the lights off, and then the stars came out, and it was really, really beautiful. On the way back, it was in the daytime, and what really struck me the most was I had this panoramic view over 180 degrees, and when I looked down, I saw this enormous, massive space station, which was absolutely beautiful. And when I looked out on the horizon, I could see enough of the curvature of the Earth that I got the impression that, I wasn't just looking down at the Earth, I was looking at a planet, hanging in space, and it was just a very moving and very incredible moment. And so I think those are the memories that I'm gonna walk away with, and hopefully, if you ask me this question again in a few months, I'll be able to answer it a little better once I have the chance to process the experience a little better.
Tarek? Thank you. Tarek Malik with Space.com and Space News. For Mike Fossum, you mentioned before flight that you were really looking forward to the construction part of this one rather than your last flight. I'm kind of curious, how it feels to back away from the station and see that massive room. And also for Commander Kelly, did you get that snapshot of Mount Everest? Thanks.
I'll go first. No.
For me, and I think speaking for the whole crew, it was a great feeling of accomplishment, especially as we backed away to see the Kibo module where it belongs. to see, and somebody on the flight deck commented, gee, it looks just like the posters now. And so, you know, we've seen this, the image, the drawings, of what the space station would look like when it's, you know, at assembly complete, and now with the addition of the Kibo module, it's so very close to that final one, and a very critical piece up there. And it's just a great feeling of accomplishment for all of us to know that, you know, that we had a small part, you know, for this last 2 weeks. It was our, you know, it was our time to play our part in the big play, and you know, we knocked it out of the park and had a great mission.
We got just a couple of minutes left, I'm afraid, so we'll start in the front row here.
Martin Juarez from programaespacial.com, Argentina webpage, from Mr. Reisman. Would you like to spend 3 more months on the space station like other engineers?
Not right now. But eventually, I would be interested in going back. You know, I think it's going to be a completely different situation when we have 6 crew members on board, and it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. And the station is going to evolve a little bit. There's going to be still some more assembly. So yeah, I think in the future, another stint up there might be a really nice thing to do. But we'll see what the cards have to say, or what lies in the future. But that would be nice.
Amy Kamadas with TV Asahi. This is for Mr. Hoshide-san. If you could answer in English as well as Japanese, that'd be great. Could you just talk about your favorite memory from your trip to space, if you have one that stands out?
Gee, that's going to be a hard one. Because, yeah, like I said, I loved every second of it. But probably the most memorable was when we opened the hatch and we had a big party inside. Well, it's good to see everyone, you know, enjoying that space, and unfortunately, we won't have that again because all the racks are installed, and also the view from the window, the Kibo window, until 2JA, we will have that space until the exposed facility is installed. We can see down on Earth. So those 2 are, yeah, probably the biggest for me. So in Japanese. そうですね。まずはハッチを開けた時ですね。希望モジュールのハッチを開けて中に入った時が一番記憶に残っていることですかね。特に中に入ってみんなで楽しんでくれたと。スペースがあるのは、今だけなんですよね。そのハッチを開けて1日2日の間だけだったので、それをみんなが楽しんでくれたというのが非常に嬉しかったです。それから希望の窓ですね。地球を眺められる期間というのはバックロブですね。船外プラットフォームが取り付くまでの、短い期間しかないので、それをみんなで楽しめたというのが、大きかったと思います。
We have time for one last question over here.
Hi, Sandra Frederick, Daytona Beach News Journal. It starts off with Commander Kelly. I wanted to know what it was like from the commander's seat actually landing the shuttle, and then the first-time flyers, what it was like for you. Did you have a sense of falling, or could you describe what landing was like for you?
I've practiced maybe 1,500 approaches in the shuttle training airplane, which is a G3 aircraft that we have several of, and you know, I've had a lot of practice doing it, but coming back deconditioned, you know, after 15 days in space, it's a little bit different experience. The orbiter flies really, really well. Compared to, you know, it's very similar to the STA, so the training we get matches very well with reality. The difference is, for me, and I know a lot of other astronauts that have landed the shuttles say a similar thing, is things seem to happen just much more quickly. You know, from 50 feet especially to the ground seemed like an instant, where it's, you know, actually probably a good 10-15 seconds long. You know, so it was, you know, landing the orbiter is certainly a challenge, and I'm glad I practiced as much as I did. I'm also glad I had this guy next to me, keeping me straight. You know, we're both Navy pilots. He gave me a good, if any of you guys know what an LSO is, the landing signals officer on the ship, he gave me a few good calls in there and close, so I really appreciate that.
Sure. I think coming in was actually a little smoother than I thought it would be. And I don't know where I got my impressions, but and since it was daylight, we didn't really see a whole lot of the orange glow. We did see some. It wasn't until the end when it started to feel a little more rough, but it's other than the physical sensation, it was so much like a sim, and that's a testament to, of course, the training we do.
All right, well, unfortunately, that's all the time we do have. We've got to get the crew back to crew quarters. They will be returning to Houston tomorrow afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the STS-124 Mission Post-Landing News Conference.